Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jimbo, and today we have this i3, this electric BMW. What's your thoughts on those cars? Anyway, today doesn't really matter what your thought is because today we are removing paint transfer or an extreme scratch. And what happened, it's actually fairly common. Those parking poles and parking structures and parking lots, sometimes even though they're painted bright yellow, it's really hard to see them, especially as you pull closer to them. So it's actually a pretty common thing that happens, that people run into these poles. And so on this i3, that's exactly what happened. There was some sort of parking situation that happened and ended in a pretty gnarly boo-boo on the driver's side, front bumper into the fender. And the client didn't want to go to a body shop, which is fairly common as well, because of that whole rigmarole and hassle as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you could safely and effectively remove a majority of the damage. And that's kind of the tip there, is that you are, or as a detailer, I'm not a body shop, so it won't be 100% fixed, but it gets pretty dang close. So let's get started in this video. All right, so once you get into it, there's a few different ways really that you can go about it. You could go with, the most aggressive way would be to sand this off, wet sand or dry sand or whatever, or you could rotary this off and essentially burn off the top layer. Again, risky, but sometimes needs to be done. Both of those are kind of last case scenarios. Sometimes just an all-purpose cleaner and will work. Sometimes you can get away with a magic eraser and water. So there's a few different ways. Also, kind of what works the majority of the time is I just picked up this case of acetone from the hardware store, and while I was there picking it up, because I had run out of it, and this could be used for a plethora of things, I also picked up this too. This is the Goof Off Pro Strength remover. I'd never even used it before, but I did do a little test spot on this earlier, and it seems to work really well. So you want to make sure you wear gloves when you're working with acetone or even this Goof Off stuff. Not only is it harsh chemicals, it'll really dry out your hands. So what I'm going to do, and what you want to do, is you want to start with the test area. So I'll pick like from here up to this line. I'm going to put some on my towel, and I'm just going to rub it and do a test area, and you can see it's coming off immediately, right? So what it's not going to be able to fix is, I don't know if the camera's picking up way over here, but there's this little scratch, and then up above there's a huge ginormous scratch. I'm not a body shop, I'm just removing the paint transfer to make this look better. So again, you want to make sure if it's a customer's car that you're clear with them what you can and cannot fix. So this Goof Off seems to be working really well. I've let it dry a little bit on the car, and it doesn't seem to be causing any additional damage or any damage that I don't want on the car. So I'm going to go through the whole thing and just take it off. If you do this on the black plastic, it may kind of dry it out. Again, it tends to dry itself out or dry out on itself. So you're definitely going to want to come back with a polish and kind of polish out this area. And there may be deeper scratches that you do need to compound out. But again, we're trying to go least aggressive to most aggressive and not have to do any additional damage or anything that may not be good for the car. So, but luckily this Goof Off is working really well. So I'm going to work the rest of this and the rim, clean it up, and then I'm going to come back and actually polish it out. I'll probably stick with like an M100 type to try to get as much correction out, and actually maybe follow it up with a polish as well. right, so now we got the goof off and we got the majority of it done. And what we're doing here is we're working in layers to correct the surface. So can't really go from 0 to 100 right away. You kind of got to work on it like layers, peel it back like an onion. So from here, what you could do is go straight to a rotary, and you could even sand this out a little bit again. I don't want to do that because of the big issues in the paint, and I don't want to catch that or make it worse. So what I'm going to do, and I'm actually not sure if it's going to work, is I have the Coast G9, I have a Buff and Shine more aggressive pad that's been primed, and I have an all-in-one on it. This is the Turtle Wax ceramic. Good? So I'm going to see if this works to kind of clean it up. And another reason why you want to be really careful is in the paint, it's going to be almost impossible to pick it up on the camera, but there's like stress fractures in the paint. And so that paint is really weakened. And so if you generate a lot of heat, or you do end up using a really aggressive polish or polisher or compound, you could really risk kind of burning the paint in those sensitive areas again. And if you look at it, that all-in-one on a DA with a more aggressive pad cleaned it up really good. Is the camera picking up how good it looks in person? So right here, these are those stress fractures. Is that picking that up? Yeah. Okay. So that are basically slits in the paint. So those aren't really going to come out any better than that without really risking making it look worse. So you really, when you're doing a extreme transfer removal or extreme scratch repair like this, most of the time the whole time from talking with the customer to actually solving the issue, you're kind of trying to mitigate risk and trying to make it better without making it look worse. And so obviously there's the big obvious things, but then there's the more subtle things like the stress fractures in the paint, or whatever you want to call that part right there. Again, on this body line, the paint's gone. So you have a weakened spot right there that if you heat this up too much, that's essentially going to spread open, and it's an already weakened body line, going to make it look worse. So this is not going to look like nothing ever happened, but that's also not the goal, and that's not what was discussed with the client. It's how do we make this look as best as possible without having to go to the body shop and be out a couple weeks with your car and all that. So I think at least in this area, I'll finish it up along the bottom, but I think we've done a pretty dang good job, if I don't say so myself. What part? This part? Is that removable? So this part, that's a great question. So this part is not removable. This is something from underneath. It's like what happened there too, and there's a lining in the fender well, so I don't know, without taking out the fender well, I don't know what's behind there, but it might be like a bolt or something like that, that when this got pressed in, the bolt from the backside kind of popped out. So that's not a paint defect. That's like something from the backside in the bumper or in the fender that was compressed so much that it actually like imprinted itself onto the outside of the bumper. So again, that's a great point and good to be able to discuss, because you don't want to tell your customer that you can fix stuff that you actually can't, because that's going to set them up for disappointment. So again, the reflector's broken down here. You won't be fixing that, but you could tell this was some sort of this is all cracked, and it must have been a pretty gnarly impact. So again, we're just trying to get it as best as possible and avoid the body shop. All right, what'd you guys think of that video? Would you have handled it any differently? Would you start with the rotary? Would you try to do it by hand with a compound? Would you take my method? Have you ever tried this before? Have you ever ran into a pole yourself? I'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And on the car, do you like the i3s? I kind of like them. I think I like the interiors more than the exteriors, but anyway, that's a whole nother video. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. And on your way down there, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button. I will have everything linked below that I used in this video as well, so you can check that out if you would like to do that. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. See ya.